Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pendulum Friday here at Soulprint. Excuse me. This little cat of mine has decided that it likes to eat the wing that I have here. Don't be a goof. Don't be a goof. You can't eat that. It'll make you sick. Go. That's Nova. For those of you who may be new to the channel. Okay. So let's get started. Really interesting questions this week. My goodness. Guys are so clever. All righty. Oh, before I get started, hold on. I wanted to share with you. I have a couple of books that I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about that next week, I think. Nova, that's a no. It really is a no. Here it is. Okay. There is a gentleman out of Australia, and he has a YouTube channel, and he writes poems. Sorry, I'm just distracted by that cat. He writes poems, and they're very funny and they're very clever. He posts, from what I can tell, he posts sort of one every like couple of weeks, so it's not like flood of a flood of stuff coming at you. His let me just see his sorry, this is really disjointed. His YouTube channel is Mignon, Mignon, like the steak, medium rare poetry. If I get it together, I'll actually stick the link on the description box below. Okay, having said that, let's get on with the day, shall we? Nova, you're going to get sick. Alrighty. Soulprint Intuitive Tarot, everyone. Now that I've sort of focused. All right, here we go. For anybody new here, thank you. Welcome to Soulprint. I hope you enjoy our community. I'm just going to quickly go through this. When the pendulum is ready to talk and I am protected, it will do this side to side deal. If the answer is yes, back and forth, show me no, round and round. And when it just doesn't want to answer or an answer hasn't been determined, it will go just still. So let's get started. First question. Is Alberta going to separate from Canada? There's been a very strong turnout of people supporting staying in Canada and putting a stop some of the crazy separation talk. So let's see, is Alberta going to separate from Canada? No. Danielle Steele, who is the Premier of Alberta, I've often referred to her as Trump in heels. The latest thing she did was she used a notwithstanding clause to force teachers who had gone out on strike back to work without solving their issue. And they were on strike because they were talking about the conditions in the classrooms and how there's overcrowding and there's not enough teachers assistants, etc. And so now she's forced the teachers back, but something like all the unions in Alberta, and in fact some across Canada, but the ones in Alberta represent 350,000 workers, apparently are planning on going on a general strike to object. So it's kind of interesting what's going on here, but she's pushing in a way that's not going to win her any friends. except maybe for the handful of people who want to separate. Okay. On July, this is a bit of a story, but here we go. On July 2022, Pope Francis announced his decision to impose sweeping changes in the operation of Opus Dei, which is that part of the, I guess, Catholic faith that is extreme. Part of the changes involved moving the control of Opus Dei from the dicastery, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, of clergy to the one of bishops. Now, Pope Leo this past summer met with the leader of Opus Dei, causing widespread eyebrows. They are considered to be a secretive group. Is Pope Leo wanting to rein in Opus Dei? Yes. Does Opus Dei support far-right governments? Yes. So let's just go back for a little bit. There was a time, not that long ago, a few hundred years, where most people didn't read. And so they got their religious instruction, if you will, from the church. And one of the things that resulted in that is it gave the church a tremendous amount of power and authority because they weren't able to get outside information, right? They were just inundated with this is the way it is and that's all there is. And one of the things that the church has really struggled with is, people making their own decisions about religion and their spirituality. But that sort of wanting to stick, right, or hold to far right government is sort of a continuation of that. You don't need to think, I'll think for you and I'll tell you what you are and are not supposed to do. Here we go. All right. Did Milei, I think I'm pronouncing that right, seek to win in Argentina this election? For entertainment purposes only, but that is a yes. Would he have won without cheating? Okay, so it's a smaller yes, right? So, what they're saying is that there's actually even talk about Argentina becoming a colony of America. It's more of this sort of extreme right-wing behavior, attitudes, ideas. Will Democratic candidate Abigail Spanberger win the governor's race in Virginia on November 4th? Yes. Will Democratic Rep Mikey Sherrill win the New Jersey race for governor? The question was this guy or that guy, so I'm just going to ask for one. Democratic Rep Sherrill, is that person going to win the New Jersey race for governor? And that looks like a strong yes. Will Amy Acton be the Democrat running for Ohio governor in 2026? Okay, right now it's a yes, but it's sort of a slow, because it's, at least a little ways away. I think that I don't know, it feels like nothing's set in concrete, but just discussions are going on. Ramaswamy, will he be running for the Republicans as governor in Ohio? That's a much stronger yes. Okay, I'm going to ask this. Is a Democrat going to win the governor seat in Ohio in 2026? Is a Democrat going to win? I'm aware of the fact that that's like a really red area. But yes, I think what you may very well see is backlash against what's going on right now. Are a significant number of right-leaning U.S. citizens disturbed by the destruction of the East Wing as the rest of us are? Or, are they okay with it because it's being done by the felon? Okay, so right-leaning U.S. citizens, are they upset about the destruction going on in the East Wing of the White House? They are. What's really interesting, though, is as of right now, the energy, they're upset because the government is on strike. They're the ones paying the price, and Trump's preoccupied with a ballroom. So that's part of the energy that they're dealing with. Was fear of the outrage of citizens part of the reason for the demolition of the East Wing? In other words, did he want an excuse to refurbish the bunker so he would have a place to hide? I didn't know the bunker was in the East Wing. Okay, let me just. Was part of the motivation in the East Wing to strengthen, redo the bunker? Was that sort of part of the calculation? Okay, yes. Um, it's part of the motivation, Trump wanting to create a legacy, create something in the White House that has his name on it. Yes. I don't know if you've seen, but Mike Johnson has said that he really does not see a path forward for Trump to run for a third term. And he has had that conversation with Trump, and Trump understands that. Will anyone be using his new ballroom? Yes. Is the ballroom, it, is the construction of the ballroom actually going to go ahead as it currently is intended? No. Are there going to be revisions to make it less elaborate and make it smaller? Yes. Is or was Melania a Russian red sparrow? So a red sparrow was actually something that was used during the Cold War, and they were women that were recruited to basically seduce um, powerful people and extract information for Russia. Okay, was she a red sparrow? Okay, I'm getting a no on that. Did Putin pay Melania to convince Trump to run for for president. It must have been a hell of a paycheck if he did, because she has never liked the idea of him being president, her being the first lady. He considers it an incredible intrusion in her life. Okay, did Putin pay for Melania to convince Trump to run for president? That's a no. Did Jeffrey Epstein introduce Melania to Trump? Yes. Is the orange one and his youngest son on the autism spectrum? Now, there is a certain philosophy that pretty much says everyone is somewhere on the spectrum. I'm not sure if I agree with that or not, but it's a sort of a broad question. So I'm gonna rephrase it a little bit. Is 45 on the spectrum in a way that impacts his sort of day-to-day functioning? Yes. Okay. Is Theron on the spectrum? That's a yes. Right before I came on to record this Thursday afternoon, I was reading a little blurb that said apparently the prosecution, so I'm thinking this may be the Comey case, are calling Barron as a witness to some of the things that went on at Mar-a-Lago with regards to the stolen documents. And apparently the judge made it really, really clear that his butt had better be in court when he's called, or he risks literally being put in jail. She's not playing. So that'll be interesting to see. Will Jack Smith be allowed to testify publicly with cameras before Congress? Yes. Will he testify in this year, in 2025? Okay, so we're getting a non-answer, so the decision hasn't been completely made. You are starting to see Republicans rebel and push back. Um, the Senate has now voted 3 times to remove the tariffs from Canada and somewhere else. Anyways, so he's losing support. We can continue to see that cracking. Was the SK murder engineered in hopes of creating a civil war? No. Was the FBI involved in framing Tyler Robinson for the murder? No. Did Tyler Robinson commit that murder? Yes. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy about that. That's what Pendulum says. Will Mike Johnson be forced by law to seat the newly elected Arizona representative? He's going to be forced to do that. That's a really strong yes. Will the House Republicans force Mike Johnson to reopen Congress? Yes. I'm just going to ask that sort of same questions in a slightly different way. Will there be House Republicans who join the Democrats in forcing Johnson to reopen Congress? Yeah, that's a yes. The reason I re-asked the question was simply because the way the question was written, it was sort of like all of the Republicans were going to do this, and that's a no. But is Johnson planning on the House not being in session until January 2026? Is that still his plan? Yes, it's not going to do well for him with the government shut down, for him to try to keep it shut down for, you know, months. Will the Supreme Court rule to declare the 15th Amendment unconstitutional? That is the amendment that supports birthright citizenship. No, they will not. Will another country release the Epstein files? There's a non-answer there. Apparently, Prince Andrew, King Charles's brother, is being like stripped of all of his titles and, booted to some 30-room cottage somewhere. Because in the book Nobody's Child, talks about having been with him 3 times, and one of the times was like an orgy with 8 other women. So I think what you're going to get energetically, what I'm getting is that stories are going to start coming out from different places. And that's how more and more of it is going to get exposed. Are the Epstein files ever going to be released in their entirety in the United States? Yeah. If not before, it will happen after the midterms. 51 people have been killed in the Caribbean by Trump and Hegseth. Do you see the law catching up with them anytime soon for crimes against humanity? Yes. Yeah. Will the U.S. military step in and stop Trump? Okay, that's a yes. It's a small yes, but it's a yes. And if so, will a coup take place? That's a no. Will the armed forces obey illegal orders from the Mango Menace? That's a yes. Thinking of the guard folks picking up trash and then being told they have to help the terrorists who are not nice. The emphasis on the ice. A question there. Um, is Trump overall going to be successful sending American troops into cities as a result of his made up stories about what's happening in the cities? Is that going to be successful for him? That's a no. It is being rumored that there is trouble, in paradise for the Vance marriage. Will they divorce? Well, Vance is acting as VP. It's gone still. Let's ask this. Is there going to be a separation that takes place in the Vance marriage over the next 2 years? That's a yes. Will 45 experience a medically related incident in public view that cannot be explained away? Yes. Are we, the people of the United States, going to survive F-45 halfway decently? Yes. It's not a big list. We've talked about this, right? This is a fight basically for the soul of America. And the United States has reached a fork in the road. And which way they go really is going to depend on the people, and the people putting their foot down and saying, this is not what we want. Will senior citizens survive Trump and his buds? Okay, so as of right now, it is a yes, but it's not going to be easy. I'm sorry. Will the economy ever recover from Trump? In time it will. That was a yes. My question is, the United States going to be able to reclaim its status as sort of the most powerful country in the world? No, it is not. And that might be a good thing. Is the Orange Menace still with us because the lessons still need to be learned for some people? It seems this is the case since there were so many times in the past when the GOP could have shed themselves of this idiot. um, but mega cult and their own cowardice, along with the law of attraction, made it impossible. Okay, so I just don't like the phrasing. I'm going to ask it, but then I'm probably going to re-ask it a different way. Are there still lessons to be learned with Trump being in office? Okay, yes. Are those lessons needing to be learned by some of the American people? Yes. Has Trump made choices and decisions that have increased the amount of negative karma that he will face? Yes. Okay. Thinking about the Salem witch trials, there was more than one reason that they occurred. Over 150 women, children, and men were accused of witchcraft. 19 were executed. Modern researchers theorize that ergot poisoning from a fungus on rye grains may have caused the strange symptoms that led to the hysteria in 1692. Is that true? Okay. I'm getting a no, but what I'm hearing is that it was like group hysteria that kept amplifying on itself. Um, they're saying there were other factors, there were environmental factors, there was economic factors, I'm not sure what that's about. Um, but it was hysteria breeding more hysteria, basically. Okay, that's the end of the list. Okay, I know a bunch of you are wondering what the hell's going on with my mouth. I'm just adjusting to some dental work that's been done, and so just tolerate it. In coming week or weeks, it should settle down. Um, it needs to be fine tuned a bit. Okay, so it's the weekend. Do something good for yourself, something that helps you release endorphins and ground yourself and feel calm. And if you can, do that for someone else. Until next time, take care and be well. Bye for now.